Hi all, welcome to Shosha where you get all your piping hot updates from the world of entertainment. And at the moment, there's only one question in everyone's mind. Did Brahmastra Part 1 actually live up to the sky high hype? To answer this question, we have with us today the biggest movie buffs from our News 18 Shosha entertainment team. We have we have Boni, Shrishti, and Disha with us today. Thank you all for joining me. So
Hello.
now, right to talk about the film a little bit. Made at an approximate budget of rupees 410 crore, Brahmastra, co-starring Alia Bhatt and Ranbir Kapoor, real-life couple, has been in the making for over 5 years now. Despite protests, negative PR, calls for boycott, the film seems to be actually doing quite well. Just in advance booking alone, it has amassed around 1,80,000 tickets so far. And according to trade analysts, the film is eyeing an opening of rupees 20 to 25 crore. So, without much further ado, let's just dig in and talk about the movie. Brahmastra is a big film. It has a big budget, big stars, and big expectation. So, I want to ask the three of you, as viewers, when you went in to watch the movie, what were your expectations? And when you came out, were your expectations met?
Boni,
I'd
would
like
you?
to start with you, Bani.
See, I will confess I'm not a big fan of Ranbir Kapoor. And although I admire Alia as an actress, I am again not a very big fan of her as well, although I've watched all her movies. So, for Brahmastra for the longest time, I didn't really have any hook for me. I wasn't really looking forward to it or wasn't super excited about watching this movie. So I mean, I was like, okay, okay, another big budget film that Bollywood is coming out with. For the longest time, I wasn't really taking much interest in it. Closer to the release, of course, the hype really, gets to you at some point, and you think, okay, okay, there is probably something worth watching here. But when I actually went to the movie hall yesterday and sat down, I realized that it is a fantasy adventure film, which is my favorite genre of filmmaking. Like, I'm a big fan of the Game of Thrones and the Lord of the Rings, and on OTT, I watched The Witcher, Wheel of Time. Give me fantasy, and I will lap it up. So, and I realized that okay, in Bollywood, we are trying to do that genre in such a big scale with one of the biggest production houses with the biggest of stars in it. And I immediately switched from being a little bit of a skeptic to being hopeful that okay, this film will probably do well. And I was like I was cheering for it, and I was all suddenly it became a positive thing for me because I was like, okay, I mean, we should probably be supporting this film because it is in a genre that we don't often see being explored in Bollywood. I mean, there are some films which we have tried in the past. If I take their names, you'll be like, oh, which were these films? When did they even come out? So, Brahmastra is trying to do something that very few people in India even try to attempt, and that way, it's a great attempt, I would say. A lot of my expectations from a fantasy adventure film has definitely been met. Another thing that really hooked me to the film was mythological fiction is another genre that I am very fond of. I read Amish Tripaঠি's books and everything. So again, that is another thing I really loved because it is a very nice mixture of fantasy adventure with Indian mythology, which will immediately hook our audiences in because
Right.
we relate to a Dasera, we relate to a Ramayan's Kahani, we relate to the
Absolutely.
powers of Lord Shiva and everything. So that I thought was another great hooking point, which I'm sure a lot of people in the audience will also love.
Mhm. What about Shrishti?
So I think Boni has said most of the points,
Uh-huh.
but I just like to add that I I'm in awe of Ayan Mukherjee. I love Ayan Mukherjee's film. He hasn't made so many movies so far, but whatever he has made previously, whether it was Wake Up Sid or Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, he had this image of a director who made this coming of age movies. But in Brahmastra, he has completely ditched that image and has done something so unbelievable and unexpected of him. So I think
Uh-huh.
completely taken aback, by the film. And to be honest, I was not, that much hopeful. I mean, I
Right.
knew that what they were making will be a little of, will be something that we haven't seen before. But, watching the movie, I was completely taken aback. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. So, Disha, what about you? Were you also taken aback and impressed? How was it?
Honestly, unlike Shrishti and Boni, from the day the movie was announced, I've been so pumped up about this movie because the whole idea of incorporating mythology into the superhuman world was something that I've always been a fan of. Like, even in the Marvel universe, I've always tried to see, okay, you know what, Doctor Strange, this bit, that is
Uh,
inspired by this mythos. So I
uh,
was, when Ayan announced that we're going to do something like this is what it is, and I'm like, finally, India will have an answer. And
answer to the Marvel
somehow,
universe,
yes,
perhaps. Yes.
yes, like India has not had that technological power as the West for so long, or even they don't know where to start. But I think with Brahmastra, Ayan has honestly opened that gate where people can come in and start exploring that side of the universe as well. Like we've had Bahubali, we've had RRR, where
RRR.
visuals have
Hmm.
been experimented with,
Hmm.
but story-wise, Ayan has done, like with Brahmastra, he's actually pushed the envelope for himself as a director as well. Like how Srishti pointed out that, he's more of an coming of age and day-to-day slice of life kind of a
That,
story.
I expected that kind of a film from him.
Exactly.
Uh,
For him as a director also, you can see that in the past 10 years, the
mhm,
amount of how much he's gone out of his comfort zone to
mhm,
make something that as he's told in a lot of interviews that as a
mhm,
child he used to watch a lot of superhero content and a lot of fantasy. He's tried
mhm.
to make his own small world, and I would want to sit down with Ayan one day and just show him like how, which, what. I can see shades of Harry Potter. I can see shades of Lord of the Rings. I can see shades of Marvel being inspired. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, you know what? Ayan has grown up in somewhere a similar childhood as me, going
Uh-huh.
fan over all of this. So I
Uh,
was glad that Brahmastra panned out the way I had
hmm.
hopes from.
All right. Disha, you were just talking about the characters right now, so, right? So let's talk about the performances of all the actors in the film. I mean, besides Alia Bhatt and Ranbir Kapoor, there is Nagarjuna and Amitabh Bachchan, both acting legends, right? What did you feel about the performances in the movie?
Uh, I would start off by saying I was shell shocked by Moni Roy. I mean, honestly, I've seen, given the kind of work I've seen of her on the small screen,
Mhm.
unfortunately, television, you have to be a little more dramatic, very out there, very loud. So I somewhere thought that maybe Moni is just bringing another version of her Nagin side to the screen.
Extension to the big cinema.
So when I walked out of the theater last night, I was like, I cannot believe Moni stood out so well. Even in scenes with Amitabh and Nagarjuna, I was like,
Mhm.
she killed it. For an actor to
Mhm.
holding herself in front of greats like Nagarjuna and Amitabh, for me that was very impressive. And
What about you, Shristi?
Yeah. So, like, Disha said about Moni Roy, I think that's, this is what interesting about Ayan's movies, because, if you look at Wake Up Sid or Ye Jawani, women have always played very important roles in, Ayan's movies. And
Mhm.
even if you look at, the way Bollywood has given us, these big budget movies, and mostly movies, you that, the antagonists are mostly played by men, right? And here, Brahmastra is a film of a huge scale. So,
Yes.
roping in an actor like Moni Roy, who doesn't have that much of standing in Bollywood. I mean, of course, she has done like a lot of films, but she's not that popular. So of course, I
Mhm.
mean, Ayan has somewhere broken that stereotype also, by roping in a female actor,
Mhm.
in an antagonist role. And I think
Right.
has done a fabulous job. I think, like, in TV, you have to be a little dramatic to cater to that audience, right? To the
Of
small.
course. Hmm.
But Brahmastra, Moni was phenomenal. I was scared every time she would appear on screen. You know, I was like, oh shit, now what? So yeah, I mean,
She's quite the Indian Scarlet Witch.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, she would give that vibe, na, every time she would appear on screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that single-minded focus in achieving something. I mean, Scarlet
Yeah.
Witch also wanted to achieve something. There was a very passionate pursuit that she was on, and it didn't matter who came in her way. So,
Hmm.
Moni reflects that in the role, I thought.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Moni's role was more impactful than Alia's role, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
I
What
agree.
about Alia's role? We've always, more often than not, we've seen her in the bubbly girl character. Of course, there was Gangubai recently, but when the film was being made, she was still in that phase, right? Bubbly, modern. So, what about Alia Bhatt's role in this film, and Ranbir Kapoor's for that matter?
I think Alia's role was okayish, to be honest, because there wasn't much to do for her in terms of her character, because again, she plays this modern, high society girl,
Mm-hmm.
who was just being herself. So I mean, there's nothing. Her role was not like very author backed role, to
Mm-hmm.
be. So I think she did her job well, and yeah, but I think Moni was someone who really stood out for me in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Right.
some
Yeah.
I would like to add to what Shrishti just said about Alia is that for me, Alia didn't work so well.
Okay.
Could have been one, it could have been any other actress. It didn't have to be Alia as such for her to
Hmm.
contribute to the skills. And
Right.
while I know that, like you said, Alia was roped in when she was still in a different phase. The movie
Yes.
to make. Alia
Mm-hmm.
also has worked as an actress. But
Mm-hmm.
I still feel that, Alia, or rather anybody would have fit the role. It didn't require an Alia as such for it.
Right.
And her chemistry with Ranbir, for me, did not work. Like the
Right.
Master is the love story of it, like the love. And I was like, I don't see it. Why am I not seeing it?
Boni,
No, I
how did
guess
you feel
they
about it then?
were roped in because it's Ranbir-Alia, so that's another to give people another reason to probably go and watch the movie. So I'm sure that is why she was cast, because it is, I mean, the film is not that great a scope for her as an actress.
Hmm.
So that happened, and then actually we should talk a little bit about the supporting roles as well. Like for Nagarjuna, his role isn't that big, but yeah,
Yeah.
he does his job, and there are certain elements of where all these introductions of these characters also add to the suspense and things that you look forward to in the film. There are small elements there, so that way those characters serve their purposes. There are a bunch of other supporting roles played by some known and some newer actors
Mm-hmm.
who also like come in with their own kind of flavor, add in their own flavors. Yeah, that way I think the supporting cast is pretty gathered. Yes.
Boni, speaking of supporting cast, Twitter has been, I mean, they're going gaga on and on about a certain superstar who has made an appearance. So, would you
Yeah,
like to talk?
we all know who's making the appearance. Yeah, Disha.
I'm telling you, before we dive into that, spoiler alert, guys.
Uh,
No, no, we decided that we'd say the name, but we will name who, but we will not say what he's playing, because
yes.
I believe that will take away from the experience of watching the film, and I don't
Of
want our viewers to be deprived of what we have been able to experience. I mean,
course.
not taking our privilege
Yeah.
lightly at all
Yeah.
as journalists. So yeah, Shah Rukh Khan, of course, is there in the film, and doing a brilliant job like he always does. But that's
Yeah.
about it. I'm not going to. I know Disha must be itching to talk about him, but
I'm waiting
Shah
for I'm
Rukh
waiting
Khan.
for much.
Zip.
yeah, no, but yeah, no, but we're really glad to see him in the movie. Really
Yes.
happy. But no, we're not going to say anything more than that.
Yes. So we'll just keep it at that for now. Let's move on to the VFX part of it. For the longest time, there's, people have been talking about how VFX has been the costliest part of the film in Brahmastra Part One. And Ayan Mukherjee has also been going on and on about how much of hard work has gone into this. So you guys went to watch the film and you guys saw it. How did you feel how did you feel watching the fantasy drama come alive on screens? How was it?
Disha, you want to start?
Okay. So for me, the VFX was really good. It
Mhm.
was like I think we shouldn't be comparing it right away with like a Lord of the Rings and an MCU, because this is one of the first attempts when it comes to this kind of VFX. So for that level, it was really good. Like I watched it on 3D.
Mhm.
There were scenes where, like the action scenes involving Nagarjuna and Moni, where I got so engrossed. Like I could see the amount of attention Ayan has put into these scenes.
Mhm.
And as we've seen, even in that song Deva Deva, like it's
Yeah.
out, so I'm talking about it. The
Mhm.
whole way Ranbir plays with the fire, that whole song is 3D in the theater. So you
Correct.
feel like it's part of the whole song. So
Mhm.
that, I think, kudos to Ayan. The amount of time and investment he's put for those
Mhm.
VFX. He's not overdone it. I was very glad about it. Like there are scenes where you don't need a VFX, and I'm like, thank God. He's not gone overboard and added just for the sake of it.
Mhm. Right.
Shrishti, what did you think?
Before coming to the VFX point, Valerie, add one small point,
Yes.
that like, for years MCU and DC have been accused of not including people of color in their universe, and then Black Panther come and came, and a lot of movies after
Mhm.
that. But Ayan's universe, the very first film, Brahmastra Part 1, is so
Mhm.
inclusive. People
Mhm.
of all ages, whether it's Amitabh Bachchan, Alia Bhatt, Ranbir, Nagarjuna, then there are little kids also in the film. People of,
Mhm.
he has made his universe so inclusive, and it feels so good that, Ayan has kept all these points in his mind while making the movie.
Mhm.
I think that was also one good point about Brahmastra. Coming back to the VFX point, I would say that the VFX were amazing, amazing. Valerie. The company who has done VFX for, Dark Knight, films like Dark Knight, Tenet.
Dune, Oscar-winning film Dune,
Yeah,
yes.
they have,
Tenet. Ah.
yeah, Tenet, yeah. So they have done the VFX for Brahmastra, and I
Mhm.
think it's absolutely a visual feast,
Ah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, from the way the songs have been shot, the fighting scenes, the
Mhm.
VFX is amazing there. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Bonnie, would you like to add on to that? Anything?
Yeah, like Disha said, let's not compare it with Hollywood movies just as yet. But yeah, it is amazing the level to which an Indian filmmaker has been able to achieve it without overdoing it, without saying, "Oh, now I've got all these effects and I will now go all out with it." So he
Mhm.
hasn't done that. So which is nice. It is all very pleasing to the eye. Looks nice. Some of these scenes where Ranveer is playing with fire and creating these fireworks and
Mhm.
everything look really amazing. You'll really feel you'll literally feel like you are in the middle of Diwali fireworks, so
Uh-huh.
that is amazing. I mean, so the film will completely put you into the festive mood thanks to the
Mhm.
entire visual production of it. The entire cinematography, production design is amazing. I mean, that much I will give the film. It that way. It is a visual spectacle. It couldn't have been. I mean, obviously, no way in hell it could have been. Should have been an OTT release or anything. I
Mhm.
overheard some people saying all of that. Why some people probably didn't like it.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, but then no, it is a big screen spectacle. So please, guys, go watch it in theaters.
Yes. Now, okay, fine. Let's go move on to the dialogue part of it. The dialogues have been written by Hussein Dalal. Generally, when we go watch a movie, even if somehow we do not remember the character's name or the storyline, we always come out remembering dialogues, right? So with this film, Ramastra, how did you feel? How were the dialogues? Should they have been better? Where was it good? Expected? How was it?
I think this point, all three of us will agree. None of us really like the dialogues much. Yeah,
Akshay,
Shristi, Disha.
They
She
were
says, "Don't
well,
go too more
special.
times in the stuff," and I'm like, enough.
what?
They were
Oh.
the stuff.
So what? Disha, you were saying something?
So I said that she says the dialogue "Kaun ho tum" 4 times, and through
Mhm.
the process falling in love with him. And I'm like, how are you falling in love with a person if you keep asking him "Kaun ho tum"?
Oh my God. So Hussein Dalal has to put a little bit more effort when it comes to the dialogue department, right?
For
It's
sure.
up because I think he's the same guy who's written "Ye Jawani Hai Diwani" dialogues as well, if I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
So
think so.
from a person from Ye Jawani to the Brahmastra, and there were cringy dialogues. They're very cringe.
Especially in the first half. I mean, oh
Yeah,
my.
yeah, yeah. See, a lot of
So,
the tropes in the film will look like you watched stuff because we've seen,
mm,
mythological or superhero or fantasy adventure films. So a lot
mm,
of it will look like, अच्छा ये तो देखा हुआ है, ये तो किया हुआ है, ये तो ऐसे ही होता है. Okay, Moni has like a greater god she's worshipping for whom she wants to achieve something.
mm,
All of that. Oh, so there are points where you feel कि अच्छा मतलब ये यहाँ से लिया, ये यहाँ से लिया, ये तो देखा, ये पता है. So
mm.
those kind of things do happen. I will just say, that's one of the probably the not so great points about the film.
Right. So, anyway, since we've covered most of the aspects of the film, let's talk about the anticipation for the second part. There's a lot of suspense about new characters going to be introduced, and people are, excited to watch the second one. What about you guys? You've watched the first one already. So, how do you feel about watching the second?
Srishti, you wanna start?
I think
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I mean, the way the movie ended,
Mm-hmm.
we already started, guessing who could play, Brahmdev in the next. Who will, who will role. We need even more powerful actor, in that one because Brahma is very, uh, powerful. So yeah, so I think I'm really excited to see how the second story pans out and what Ayan has, thought about the next part.
Disha, you excited?
Yeah, so I was adding to it that yesterday after movie got over, my friends and I went out for dinner, and the 45 minutes that we were together, we kept discussing theories. And after the whole discussion, I was like, this feels like I just walked out of a Marvel movie. Like, I am like, congrats, you got us sitting and discussing about what the plot could be, who could it play, who was in the movie. Like, there are so
Yes.
many, Easter eggs he's planted in the movie. And we started sitting and discussing, and we have like different, and regardless of how the movie is going to pan out, I think we already have audiences for the second one.
Yes, yes. I think so too. And that's one of the great things that I thought was about the film, that there are a lot of characters, right? And I am really hoping that, except for the big suspense that he leaves us with, other than that, also there are so many characters in the film which have been introduced to a little, to, in small, small parts,
Mm.
different kind of superpowers and stuff like that, which I'm hoping will really pan out better in the second and the third part. So I am really looking forward to how those character arcs also grow, besides just Ranbir and Alia. So, that is what one thing that I'm really looking forward to. And like you said, yeah, I mean, Shishti and I, we actually were waiting till the very end of the post-credit scene to see if there is a
Uh-huh.
post-credit scene like in the Marvel universe. Because we were
Uh-huh.
like, oh, probably he's done this as well. Maybe there is. So that is the kind of suspense he hooks us to, कि भाई हमें जानना है इसके बाद क्या
हाँ,
है, क्या हो रहा है.
हाँ,
So yeah, that is a great, great thing.
right. So fine. Before we wrap up, one last question. Was it a big letdown, or was it? Would you go to the extent of saying it might be a big hit? Brahmastra Part One, Shiva.
I think hit will be an understatement. It will be a blockbuster.
Oh wow! What about you, Boni? How do you feel?
You know, I am a little on the fence here because, as a fan of the genre, I like the film. So I will say, yeah, people like me will enjoy it,
Mm.
who don't go looking for logic in why रणबीर कपूर के हाथ से आग निकल रहा है. But there are people who are going to be, there are going to be naysayers who
हाँ.
are going to be coming and saying कि अरे ये इसमें क्या लॉजिक था और उसमें क्या था पॉइंट था और उसमें क्या हुआ. And I I talk to people who have different kind of tastes in movie watching. So I know there is a certain section who will probably love it, and there is a certain section who will not like it and who will say कि अरे यार ये सब तो हमने बहुत बार देख चुके हैं in like Hollywood movies and ये इसकी copy करी उसकी copy करी. So that kind of skepticism, I am hoping, does not really affect the box office numbers of the film. They've invested a lot of money. I really hope they get their return in investment and we get a second part, because I really want to see what happens in the second part and where the story goes. So for that sake, I really hope the film works.
Yeah,
What about Shah?
Boni. I agree with Boni because I don't want to be sitting behind and doing a Dawn 3 experience again. Ki bhai de do. Please.
Oh my God. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us wonderful insights into the film.
Before, before
Yes,
signing,
yes.
before signing off, I think we should definitely talk about the music of Brahmastra a little bit. I think
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
yeah, Pritam should deserve a mention at least.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, Dishya, would you like to add anything about the music?
The music has been given by Preetham and Franklin, I think. Yes.
To me, I like the fact that they didn't overdo with the music. Like I genuinely thought that Ayan might just plant a lot of songs in between, make it a little music. But I was like, they finished the musical part of it with the love story, and they kept they kept the tone serious for this thing. What is that? The second half or the serious part of it. And I was like, thank you, Ayan. I did not need a musical break.
Right. When I came out of the movie hall, and even now, since last night, there's this one chant going on in my head, which is Deva, Deva. So that song really stays with you till the end, more than I know we've all listened to and loved Kesaria, but the Deva, Deva, that song just, Hindi में बोलते हैं ना समा बांध देना, that's what it does. So that song has really, if you watch the film, that is the song you will going to come out of the movie hall with. So I mean, and like Disha said, there are only 3 songs actually in the film. So
Yeah.
for a film of that kind of a length, just 3 songs, and in a Bollywood movie,
Right?
they did not go over. Yeah.
It was almost 3 hours, right? The film. And there were just 3 songs.
Yeah, 2 hour 40 minutes. Yeah, nearly 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just 3 songs, and it does not feel like कि यार मतलब अब हम मूवी और देखते देखते और डायलॉग सुनते सुनते बोर हो चुके हैं, यहाँ पे एक गाना होता तो बढ़िया होता. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Especially like Disha said, in the end, towards the end, climax तक they kept the mood serious and kept.
Climax. I mean, let's not spoil too much, but climax. I mean, guys, I think वो होता है ना. There's a saying कि second half usually movies का cursed ही होता है, but Brahmastra half curse and I mean, how? Like it's amazing. Amazing. I think the build takes time, but the second half is I mean so phenomenal. I think. And about the music, I think like Boni said, I think when I was getting into theater, I was more excited about seeing Kesaria on the big screen, but then I'm loving Deva Deva because I think Deva Deva ka visuals on the big screen was fabulous. Yeah.
Wow. I think while saying Deva Deva, I'm going to make my way to the theaters because I'm yet to watch it actually. And after hearing your reviews, मुझे अब भी जाने का मन कर रहा है, but because work obviously. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your insights. For all our audiences, please subscribe to Shosha for all things entertainment. This was our first review for Brahmastra Part 1 Shiva. Thank you so much. Bye guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.